First of all, thanks a lot for having me. I just talked to Katharina that, the time is really flying because last time it was 2 years ago when I had the honor to present for the first time sustainability activities on behalf of the Mitsubishi Chemical Group. I remember that we talked a lot about CSRD, and now I thought, okay, let's discuss something which is maybe still new on the horizon, but cannot be, avoided, so to speak. And therefore, I selected maybe a little bit a challenging topic here, climate adaptation, instead of mitigation from risk assessment to real life business cases. My name is Nicole Kambeck. I am now working for Mitsubishi Chemical Group since 5.5 years. I started in the chemical industry 15 years ago and had different roles on corporate level or business level with main focus on sustainability. So in my team, we basically cover everything related to sustainability, which was also mentioned by you, be it ESG rating, CSRD, life cycle assessment, but also regulations and the monitoring and the impact assessment and influencing, of course. But before we go into climate adaptation, I always have to give an introduction into the Mitsubishi Chemical Group because people, when they meet me, they always think, Nicole is from Mitsubishi Motors. No, I'm not from the cars. We are a completely separate company. It's true, Mitsubishi used to be one big company before the Second World War. And after that, Mitsubishi was separated in different legal entities. So you have Mitsubishi Motors, you have Mitsubishi Electronics, Mitsubishi Heavy Industries. So quite diversified, but we are not really connected. We are acting totally separate. What unifies us is still the diamond symbol that you all know. Company overview, of course. We are a Japanese-based company, quite big. Our main focus market is still Japan. And that's, of course, a very challenge issue when you work here for the EMEA business regions, and sustainability usually comes here first, influenced by regulation. So that means we have usually in the businesses the highest pressure to drive changes, but we have to do also change management outside of the EMEA region to really have corporate standards. And that's, currently the environment that we have. But I'm actually very proud because since 1 year we have also, even in the US, also we have Trump. We have a sustainability department founded there. So our internal sustainability network is growing. And that's why I'm confident that we will further drive the necessary changes to become a more resilient company. So in Europe, we have the headquarters in Düsseldorf, where all the Japanese people are located. So, and we have different sites. The closest site here to Frankfurt is in Wiesbaden, where we have our polyester film production, the biggest production now in Europe for polyester films. Also, we had a very strong reorganization over the last 2 years. We still have a very broad product portfolio, and that makes it, of course, very challenging to implement sustainability. Of course, you have the different markets, different requirements, regulations, and pull effects, and therefore it never gets boring in our company here. So our product portfolio, where we are very strong, is carbon fiber products from virgin raw materials to the whole company composites that are used for aerospace, automotive, but we are also engaged in the recycling, which is still very, very challenging, but will become more prominent, especially when we see the renewable energy, the wind turbines that contain glass and carbon fiber reinforced plastics. We are also active in the packaging industry. We have oxygen barrier to keep the food fresh. We have the compostable solutions, which are, of course, a challenge due to the current regulatory environment. And we have all kind of engineering parts that you could think when you go in your car and look around in the interior. For sure, there is Mitsubishi material in there. So corporate targets, it's clear we all work on climate mitigation since years. And the main discussion, not only influenced by the omnibus, is of course always what we have with the business unit. Okay, does it make sense to invest economically when we switch to renewable energy equipment, when we work on greenhouse gas emission reduction measures? Does it really matter? And that's often sometimes really a very long discussion until we have the final decisions, right? Because we have a very competitive environment and our competitors may not invest in scope 1 and 2 greenhouse gas emissions. So I can understand the business unit leaders, why they struggle often also to do the certain investments. But overall, we stay committed to our scope 1 and 2 greenhouse gas emissions, and we are actually on track with regard to the implementation. So, but today the topic is about climate adaptation, and I thought, okay, before we really dive into the adaptation topic, I would like to ask you here in the audience, what do you think? What is the difference between climate mitigation and climate adaptation? It can be very basic. Any volunteers from your side?
Mitigation is just reducing the emissions, and adaptation is adapting to the changes that happen.
Absolutely right. Absolutely right. So it's, the climate mitigation really works on the causes of the global warming. And the climate adaptation, of course, has to deal with the consequences already and adapt. What we also see is climate mitigation, as I said, is often very long-term. And that's why it is so challenging to sometimes convince business unit leaders to invest in asset changes, because they invest often in something that they don't see. They may already retire until they see the first effects. And I think that's the challenging part. But climate adaptation, this is more local. We're very much connected to the sites, to the operations, the supply chain, and it's rather immediate to long term. However, I believe this two concepts are complementary. So it's not that we should only work on climate adaptation. It's important to continue with our climate mitigation efforts. And that's very important to emphasize also in internal communication. So when we speak about the starting point and the drivers, I think, we all agree that when we look into the graphic here on the right side, that our planet is globally heated up. And we speak about the tipping points that we have already passed by, the tipping points, and we will have irreversible effects in the future. But let's be clear, I think we need to be honest that we are now on track for the 2.5 till 3 degrees of global warming by 2100. So I think when we talk about climate adaptation, we also need to realize the reality outside what's going on. So the global temperatures are rising and we have extreme weather events. And I think nobody of you doubt that we have these extreme weather events. And I remember during my studies in 2003, I learned a lot about climate change and climate skepticism and how to convince climate skepticism. And I would have never thought that the extreme weather conditions that I learned that this will come in the future is reaching us so fast. So sometimes when I see the fire, the floods, all over the regions, every region is affected, I'm really scared to see that this is coming more and more often. I don't know how you feel with that, but it makes me feel very scared. So supply chain is vulnerable and disruptions are already happening now. And I think this is where we have to realize that we have already a risk now and we will have a higher risk in the future. Water stress is there. It's absolutely one of the effects. So these are the facts, and the drivers are, of course, the regulations that we see more and more coming up to transparently disclose the risks related to climate change in the sustainability report, of course. But I think clear is also the cost of the climate damages are rising. And we see that there is also more and more pressure coming from insurance companies and investors here. So it is an issue for us that we have to manage. So, and I thought, okay, with all that coming also from that area of climate science, I thought, okay, what could we do? Because at Mitsubishi Chemical Group, actually, the topic of climate disaster is not really new, I thought. Because when I talk to my Japanese colleagues, I really see that they live with the climate disasters of tsunami, earthquakes every day, and they laugh about it, they live with it, they have measures. And I am convinced that when you are adapted to climate disasters, to work on climate adaptation is not that far away. So I believe as a Japanese company, for us, this is even low-hanging fruit, so to speak. And in Japan, you see here an overview about the natural disaster topics already. You see that we have already a lot of stormy weather in Tokyo. It's getting every year hotter, so hot for my colleagues that they really always work in the office and not from home because of the air condition that is out there. Let's imagine what the effects are already out there. So adaptation and disaster resilience measures are tightly interconnected. So then I thought, okay, who cares about climate adaptation in our company? Is it again the sustainability managers? No, not only. Of course, we can be the initiator, but actually each of us in the company is affected directly by climate change. So whether it's human resources, leadership, digital infrastructure, customer relations, risk manager, supply chain, procurement, we are all affected and we can all do something to become more resilient, with little steps. And that's actually also the phase where we are currently at. So I have planned also a kind of awareness raising workshop in my company to give a webinar to speak up about climate adaptation measures and have a kind of initial effect so that also other departments start to work on it. Each and everybody has to work on it. It is a shared responsibility. example of the global risk assessment framework. So what have we done at Mitsubishi Chemical Group so far? So we evaluated the impact of climate change that is expected in the years up to 2030 through scenario analysis. So we have taken scenarios from the International Energy Agency, and we officially recognized risks with a particularly high impact, including rising carbon prices and climate action in stock markets. So I think it's good, yeah. As a company, we realized, okay, this is somehow an issue for us, yeah. Then we played the different scenarios through from the IPCC, and it's clear that abnormal weather will hit us. So it's also clear that we are here at the starting point, yeah. We realized it matters to us, but what will we do in detail? This will come over the next years, so that's clear. So what have we done as a starting point? I think it's very important to look in detail about the climate risks. And there are, I don't know how you see it, but a lot of providers outside, like Jupiter, but also a lot that are, for free. But I think there is a lot of good things out there that you can use to really assess the impact of your sites, for instance, but could be also supply chain. Yeah? But we started, first of all, with the Hiroshima site, because the Hiroshima site is very close to the sea. It's clear, you see with flood and wind, that we have high impact and that we need to do something. And this is just an example of a map that was done by Jupiter. And this shows that our assets that are closer to the sea are more in danger now. And I really like this visualization because as human beings, we like to have this visual effect seen. And by having such tools, it makes very clear to the site managers, to the decision makers, that we are affected, how we are affected, where we can focus, what is nice to have, what needs to be done now, step by step. So I can only emphasize to further work with such tools, and I'm pretty sure in the future there will be more tools out there. So Jupiter is just one that we used. So what we also did for the EMEA region, we did a risk assessment for the business operations so far. So the focus was really only on operations. And you see this is a first table where we really looked about, okay, what matters to you? And we did the interviews with the site managers, the sustainability managers. And I always say the more people can contribute, the more input you have, of course. And then we did an assessment, okay, is it really a hot topic for you now? If we run the different climate change scenarios through for 2030, 40, 50, what really matters for you already now? What is more in the future? And of course, we use typical questions. Do you operate in any climate or weather sensitive processes? Could any on-site activities be affected by weather? So I think the basic questions often helps people to first of all understand, is there really something out there? And maybe there are already good processes out there. For sure, in Japan, in the operations, I have no doubt that we are, to a certain extent, very well prepared. And then I think it's very important when you have created awareness in workshops, in webinars, however that looks like, that you start with the evaluation of the risks, high, middle, low impact, apply specific climate scenario models, get really an understanding about the hot issues for you, and then the monetary impact, I believe, is very important, because we had a discussion also with our enterprise risk managers, and they said, oh my God, we had this not really on our radar. We need to integrate that in all our processes. And I think that's exactly how you can set up a governance structure and how you can, leverage also this topic in your company by involving the risk managers, if you have some, and having this also added. And what we have discussed also is about when we do the quantification of the monetary impact, that it's important that we have corporate guidelines, because we noticed that each side or each business has a different criteria setting for the assessment of the monetary impact. So I found that very important, that we have here a harmonized understanding. Then, of course, when you start, we started now with the operations here, but I am pretty sure when we continue, and we have already reached out also to our procurement managers, that this exercise is tough. Thinking about all the different types of raw materials and suppliers that we have, and that change sometimes weekly, sometimes daily, right? So that's not easy job to be done, but I believe it needs to be done. At least to get the overview and to see, okay, what are the hot spots, and also again have a future scenario. Who are the suppliers you are currently working on, and you will further work with them, or may even have higher amounts that will supply raw materials to you. So if this location is sitting, I don't know, in Indonesia and is affected, it may hit your production. It may completely stop our production. So we better think about the possible consequences and go into a more proactive management. So I'm pretty sure that will be a very strong exercise taking over several months, but no doubt it needs to be done. Then, as I said, we need this governance structure. I always say when you do something, it's important who does it. This person needs to feel responsible. Who is doing what, until, when, why? Typical project management. So for this, you don't need to be a climate adaptation expert. You need to be a project manager expert. Get the things done. So that's probably also the next step, which I call it climate risk prevention plan with clear KPI settings, and it needs to be realistic and not over the top, because if it's over the top, for sure the top management will say, no, too costly. So start really with the low-hanging fruits, what can be done within the next 3 years, and then we look further on the long-term basis. Also very important is the business case for climate adaptation. Also, it's very scary when we look into the future and how the climate will look like. We need to get a better understanding about the opportunities. So what Katharina said in her presentation was about, we really need to look in how the market develops in the future. What are the products of tomorrow? And this is linked also to climate change. What are the products that our customers would like to have? Because they need to find an answer towards climate change. How can this answer look like? And for sure, the salesperson have a quite good idea about that. And of course, it's important to regularly monitor and report the progress to the leadership. I have here also an overview from the World Economic Forum, which shows what are the frontier technologies of tomorrow which help to become more resilient towards climate change. Of course, this is, I think, very much focused on digital solutions, drones. It's clear we have a lot of good technologies out there that we need to use here. And we learned this morning about biodiversity and that we can make it also accessible. And the same is with climate adaptation measures. Yeah, you need to have your measuring points all over the places to regularly monitor. So I looked into our product portfolio and I found opportunities right away. So we have a product called Apolik. It's an exterior wall system, an aluminum panel, which when you go, for instance, to the discounter of Aldi, maybe you have seen already this facade system. So this is one of our products. And these facade systems are very robust, especially when we have a lot of rain coming down, floods all over the places. So it's very important to have robust buildings set in place. Also, I was thinking about the wind turbine blades. Yeah, if we have strong storms, strong wind, we need very robust material. And we have created a coating which assures that rotor plates are more robust, but also the lifetime of the rotor plate is extended. And extensions of the lifetime means being more robust to extreme weather conditions. So that's also an opportunity. And looking into the infrastructure to bridges, if we have heavy winds, I don't know when you sometimes drive, no? It's quite heavy sometimes when you go along the bridge and you have very strong wind. It's important to have here also an infrastructure in place which is more safe for the driver and, of course, for the infrastructure himself. So my key takeaways, climate adaptation, mitigation are complementary. It's clear that it can help you to have a more resilient company in the future. Adaptation measures are often immediate, tangible, cost-efficient, maybe more than mitigation initiatives, which can make them easier for leadership to endorse because they see directly the effects, not when they are already retired. Proactive climate adaptation measures can be planned systematically, enabling the company to reduce long-term costs and avoid operational disruptions. And it's really important to look at the hotspots, like with everything. Don't get lost in the details. Look really about the hotspots and prioritize your initial measures based on that. And I don't know, but we don't really see at the moment that this is a compliance topic, climate adaptation measures. But it would be, of course, good to see more activities in that area so that it becomes compliant. But let's be clear, this is really an activity you should proactively work on to become more resilient in the future. So whether there are regulations out there or not, you better work on it. Otherwise, it hit you sooner or later in a negative way. So that's it from my side. And I'm looking forward to the breakout sessions afterwards. Thank you.